Hi everyone. First of all, I would like to thank everybody who subscribed to the channel and liked the video that I posted about this car. I got a really good feedback from it. So it seems like it is helping a lot of people. People are interested in seeing this kind of content. So it makes me really happy. Today I wanted to talk about some pros and cons of owning a 24-year-old car, especially a Mercedes. Usually when people are buying an old car, they go for a Japanese car because they're more reliable, the parts are cheaper, and they're just more simpler to maintain and easier to maintain. But I wanted to share how this specific Mercedes from this year and this model can be as easy as a Japanese car to maintain. First thing that usually people are worried about are the suspension of the car, the shocks on German cars, and especially on German cars, the issue is you get these airmatic or air controlled suspensions where it has a balloon on the suspension, and as the car goes through the bumps and stuff, it compresses and expands and it has air inside it. Usually what happens is those bags or balloons, they pop or they wear out, and then they're really expensive to replace. Now the advantage of this car, the W210 Mercedes, is it has regular suspension and shocks. So it has your regular springs and it has a shock going between it. So if it ever wears out, you can either get the original or the aftermarket springs and just go to the mechanic and get it replaced. So they're pretty robust to begin with, and if they fail, the parts are really cheap and the labor is really cheap as well compared to the other models. Now if you look at the engine over here, this is a V6 engine, pretty simple to work on, not a lot of electronics going on for this year or extra gadgetry under the hood, so it makes it easier to access the engine if something needs to be worked on and do a repair job. So the labor isn't that expensive, and these engines have been popular to be over engineered, so they're going to last you a long time as long as you're doing regular maintenance like oil changes and filter changes. Now those are some of the pros for some of the heavy duty mechanical stuff that usually comes up. Suspensions, engine work, transmission work. The transmission is pretty robust as well and simple, 5-speed transmission. So finding parts for it, or if someone needs to repair it, shouldn't be that big of a problem. But what about the running costs? The oil changes, the maintenance, the insurance, the gas? What does that look like? Since this is a German car, it takes premium gas, so 91 octane is the minimum required or recommended. That is usually higher than your 87, but the advantage of 91 is you get better range. So yeah, you're putting a little bit more expensive gas, but you get better mileage and it's better for your engine. So you got to kind of work it out what works best for you. In this case, because I paid car cash and I'm not doing car payments, I am able to afford a little bit more premium gas. So it kind of works out to be a better option. Then come the oil changes. So for a regular car, for a Japanese car, 4-cylinder car, the oil changes are somewhere around $100 if you go to these one-stop shop, quick go in, go out kind of oil changes shops. But with this one, it's about $200 for two reasons. First of all, it's a V6 engine, so it takes more oil, and it takes a different kind of oil, which is slightly more premium than that goes for Japanese cars. But the difference is this oil can go on for more kilometers than your regular Japanese car oils that people usually put in for these in and out shops. Yes, it might cost you $100, but you might have to change every 5,000 kilometers. This one, you can change it every 8 to 10,000 kilometers, but because it's an older car, I tend to change it or plan to change it a bit earlier. So if you look at the cost, it kind of works out to be the same, but the advantage is, specifically in this case, because this car was bought cash for $5,000, it works out to be a better deal than getting a newer car, which is, yeah, a Japanese car. It might have more functions and stuff like that, but then it's going to cost you between $400 to $600 depending on what car you get every month, with higher interest rates right now in the market. it's really hard to find a car that is in a decent budget with a decent payment. Now, another big expense is car insurance. Because this is an older car and it's about 24 years old, the parts are cheap on this car. It has low tech, so the insurance is really cheap. So even with all my discounts here in British Columbia and everything, I pay about $100 per month for the insurance on this one. If I would get a Honda Civic, a newer Honda Civic, because the parts are more expensive, because it's a newer car, has more tech, with my discounts and everything, I would probably be paying between $150 to $170 a month in car insurance. So that's also a pro for this car. Even though it's an older car, you're paying lower in insurance, so it's easier on your pocket. Now, with anything, not everything is perfect. So there are some cons to this. So let's count those real quick over here. First of all, it's an older car, so you're gonna have problems and stuff that you're gonna have to repair to bring it up to spec. Depending on what condition car you're buying, you might have slightly bigger problems or some minor problems, depending on how much you paid for the car, how the car was taken care of, and who was driving it. So I would say that's one of the cons. The second thing is that because it's an older car, the society we live in, it's all about what car you drive, what clothes you wear, and stuff like that. So if you care about that kind of stuff and that matters to you, this is not a showstopper car in a way that not everybody's gonna know about this car, what it is. So if it's an older car, people are just gonna think, hey man, you drive an old car, what's going on? So that could be one of the cons. It doesn't bother me. I actually love older cars, so that could be one of the cons. And then the third one that I can think of right now is parts, because some cars, this car isn't that big of a problem, but because the cars are so old, the parts can be hard to find. Even though the parts are cheap, they might not be fully available or readily available, so you have to plan ahead. So a lot of people, what they do is they buy parts in advance, something that is a kind of a consumable or it's gonna break. If they find a good deal, they just buy it, like lights or some emblems, or if they find a engine part that it's hard to get, that's something that you might have to plan ahead. If you're hitting the road and you have an old car and you get stranded somewhere, it might be hard to find a part somewhere. But if your car is well maintained, there isn't really anything, unless you get into an accident or something like that you'll have to worry about that kind of stuff. Other than that, to be honest, I can't really think of a con right now that you can have when buying an older car, or a car that you buy and then you bring it up to spec in a perfect condition. For me right now, I absolutely love this thing. I'm really enjoying it so far, driving it, and I do want to do some modifications to it. I've just been waiting to really scope things out and see what I want to do to it, but so far I love this thing. And look how nice it looks. Like, it has the road presence, it looks clean, it looks classic, but it looks modern at the same time. It just hits every single box for me, and I love it. So this has been my experience so far. It hasn't been too long. I've only owned this car for about a month now, I would say, but it's been great. I haven't had any issues with it. I'm actually falling more and more in love with this car. The drive of this car, it's so comfortable to drive. It just glides over bumps, and having 16-inch wheels and having a bigger tire, like thickness of the tire, helps as well. So yeah, comment down below, let me know what your thoughts are of having an older car, or if you're looking to buy an older car and have any questions specifically to Mercedes, this car, or any other car, let me know and I will try to cover that in the next video. And I would like to thank once again for subscribing and supporting the channel. Definitely helps a lot. And if you like this content, then please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.